So to start off with, I saw you have a background in sales before you went into RevOps. How did that happen? What was that transition like? Was it a conscious move?
Yes. So I ran sales teams and was a seller for almost 2 decades. And so I left corporate and moved into consulting and was basically doing sales for more SMBs, mid-market founders, business owners. And I realized that as much with the earlier stage guys and the smaller companies, as much as I could implement sales processes and methodology, I realized it's going to fall flat if we don't have our sort of systems in place. And so I ended up being sort of a head of sales, but then I'd be like, what are our sales stages? And are we putting deals in a CRM? And what does that look like? And some clients, this was foreign to them. And some clients were like, yeah, we have that, but we don't actually use it well. And so that piqued my interest because I saw there was a gap in the market. And I was just like, okay, you can do all this great stuff with sales and bring in all this revenue, but if you don't have a pulse on your forecasting and where you're going monthly, quarterly, annually, it's really hard to say we're going to meet the investor board revenue projections at the end of the day because we don't really know what's going on. It's a very hard thing to explain. I actually say I'm a fractional CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, because I do have a robust background in sales, but I have done a lot of real RevOps operation types projects. And we're building an agency here at RevUp Advisory. So I have a team of folks now. And so we can influence the sales methodology and the criteria and the lead qualification. And then we get into scoring and stages and that piece. And that then needs to be systematized from a philosophy and a strategy and a framework into a CRM. And so they really complement each other really well, but it's still a little bit foreign for some people.
What are some common misconceptions you still come across when it comes to RevOps or with people, you're introducing the concept to?
I don't think people honestly understand the concept of revenue operations. I think in the B2B SaaS world, it's real, the education there, the awareness is there, they have teams. But when you branch out of B2B SaaS, they just don't get it. Sometimes I use just the word operations, commercial operations, because I think that falls into sales and marketing and customer success, where that is true revenue operations, but the concept is so foreign. I have to use vernacular and language that they understand at the end of the day. But there's a lot of education that needs to still happen around this. And for a small subset of us, it's such a crucial linchpin to growing an organization, but there's a whole world of other industries and companies that it's just a foreign concept to still.
Going through your profile, I saw you talk a bit about you help businesses create a North Star roadmap. Could you explain that concept a little bit?
Yeah, so you need to have an executive strategy and a vision of where the company is going. Because at the end of the day, we can put sales methodology in place, we can organize systems, we can update your Salesforce, we can do your marketing automation out of HubSpot. But if you don't know where you want to go from a company standpoint. We do 20 million in ARR now, and by the end of 2024, just an example, we're looking to get to 32 million in ARR. If you're not really clear on what that looks like, it's really hard to say where you're going. So I call it the North Star roadmap because in my mind, it's a imaginary map, although we sort of put it to paper and Excel at the end of the day, that says, where's the company going? And I get all the executives and stakeholders to actually align on what this looks like. And we have a process and a methodology of how we do this at RevUp Advisory. And then from that, what it does is it shows the gaps in visibility for the stakeholders. So it's okay, in that example, we want to go to 32 million. but you don't have your marketing automation in place, or your sales stages are 2 years old and the company sells something differently, or you don't have products in Salesforce because you have new products and it's not there, so your opportunities are inaccurate. These are just some examples. And so what I find is this North Star roadmap just highlights to the stakeholders where the gaps are to get them to go there. And then we can sort of execute on what the roadmap is.
And are there any common challenges that you see businesses facing when they're, establishing or building out RevOps from scratch? Any pain points that you come across a lot at the moment?
Yeah, I think no one has their systems correct or properly set up. I think a big miss companies don't have is what I call like a customer journey mapping. So simple terms, it's like, how does someone that maybe could be a customer come into your orbit? How do they move through marketing, pass that over to sales, become a closed won customer, and then how do you service this new customer and theoretically expand the business that you got from them? That's a really simple way of saying it, but I think most people don't have that mapped, and they don't have it mapped from a process standpoint. They don't have it mapped to what I call this executive vision, and they don't have it mapped to the systems. And so this is just like crucial table stakes in my mind for revenue operations to kind of do their due diligence and help you grow the company. But it's just not sexy. And so people don't like doing it, but it's the foundation to growing the business at the end of the day.
No, for sure. And like you say, having that North Star map, I imagine, is what helps you get marketing and sales and customer success actually talking to each other.
Yeah, I would say that's another big thing. We are typically the bridge between all the stakeholders across the team. So CMO, CRO, founder, president, head of CS, they're oftentimes not on the same page, and there's probably some internal struggles that go on. And so we're trying to say, if we win, everyone wins. There's no sales wins or marketing wins or customer success wins. Like, we all want to win. And in my mind, winning is growing the revenue for the company at the end of the day. And so how do we collectively work together? So I am personally the lead on a lot of projects, and I'm the one that has these tough conversations with the stakeholders, because I think either they're afraid to say it to each other because they want to play nice in the sandbox because they're colleagues at the end of the day, or there's a lot of talk and nothing actually gets done at the end of the day. So we're a consultancy firm that has the tough conversations, aligns everyone, and actually does the work. We're not just handing you the roadmap and saying, okay, bye, see you later, and then it flops.
Just dive a little bit deeper on that. What sort of areas of resistance or kickback do you get from, if you're talking to founders or stakeholders about this is what you need to do? What kind of, feedback do you get when they don't? Is it investment? Is it operational change they don't like?
I think it's a combination of all that: change management, operational change, sales strategy, or one person thinks they're inferior than the other person. So I feel like there's a bunch of that. But I think at the end of the day, just getting everyone to sort of align on a common goal for the company is just so important at the C-suite level, because we're all here to do a job at the end of the day. But wouldn't it be great? Oh, sorry, someone's coming in. Wouldn't it be great if we can all, talk? Easier said than done, but I feel like because we're an outside resource and a consulting firm at the end of the day, and just like the nature of how I can get people to talk to me at the end of the day, stakeholders really open up to us because we're like an outside vendor at the end of the day. So I feel like we unpack and uncover a lot by just asking a lot of why questions at the end of the day, because they're willing to be open and honest with us because we create this sense of trust and transparency with them.
So another thing I saw that you write about a little bit is your concept of a conveyor belt methodology that you use at the RevOps advisory. Could you talk me through that?
Yes, and that's huge. So I love that you caught that. So all my proposals say we roll with like this conveyor belt methodology, and it's something that it's proprietary to us. So basically, sales, marketing, customer success, finance, and product need to work in unison in a conveyor belt in order to truly grow the revenue at the company. It can be done without this, but this is what I consider like ideal state of growing the revenue at the end of the day. And I know and you might be a marketer, like tofu, bofu, and all these funnel ideas, but I actually don't believe in the funnel anymore. I think it's an older methodology and philosophy. So in my mind, it's the conveyor belt, that marketing product. First, we started with the product, right? They got to do their job in order for marketing to really do anything at the end of the day. But then marketing has a whole host of jobs: webinars, event sponsorships, email marketing, case studies, the list goes on and on. That needs to get passed over to sales and qualified and said, oh, this is within our ICP. This is a persona of someone we actually want to buy from us. Passes over from sales. Theoretically, you close the deal. You don't win everyone, but that's okay. And then customer success, I think, is a huge revenue generator at the end of the day. And I think that's also a new philosophy. It's not just servicing the accounts, it's working day in and day out with the accounts to actually grow the business. And then finance obviously does revenue recognition with the forecasting and the deals and the expansions. And then all that information like informs back to product, and that loop of conveyor belt starts over again. And so why? Because I don't feel like in the funnel methodology, they kind of just like fall out and now they're a customer, but there's so much more to it than them just being a customer at the end of the day.
I love it. I love it. Great concepts. And how have you seen, I mean, like we've talked about it being a relatively new field, etc., but how have you seen revops or the perception of revops change over the last 5 years or so?
It didn't really, I was doing it 5 years ago. And so it didn't really exist. I think we were just sales operations at that point. And there is marketing operations still, there is sales operations still, and there is revenue operations. But in my mind, they like ladder into revenue operations. And so I think I was doing revenue operations 5 years ago, but it was coined sales operations. And because we do a lot of work with marketing at this point, it can't just be sales ops and marketing ops. It's that bridge between the departments and all the other departments I mentioned.
For sure. We're getting there slowly.
Yeah, I think it's a term now. I just sort of laugh when I see layoffs happening and folks are letting go of marketers or they're letting go of revenue operations folks, because I almost feel like it's this like house, right? And you're like putting on the roof before you lay the foundations, or you're putting the shingles or window treatments on, but the foundation's just not there. So you'll get there to a point, but you're going to stall and stagnate at some point, and that's when a lot of people turn to RevUp advisory.
Kind of following on from that, at what sort of stage do you normally see companies hiring in-house RevOps specialists? You know, if you're seeing it from a fractional perspective, at what sort of stage, or what stage do you recommend companies take that next stage?
So, I mean, we deal with folks that are revenue positive at the end of the day. So I would say like 2 to 5 million in ARR up to like 50 million in ARR. So a lot of folks either have what I consider a RevOps team, but like one person. And if you know anything about systems, you can be a specialist or you can be a generalist. And so why I love our agency model is we have different, what I call technology ninjas in different systems in different areas: HubSpot, Salesforce, integrations, you name it. And so collectively we can solve a company's problem and bring in different people to the project at the inflection point that we need them. I find where companies stagger is they're asking one person, whether really junior or really senior, to do all these things. Right. and the person just spending hours on watching YouTube videos at the end of the day to figure it out.
So how do you see AI and automation affecting everything going forward?
Huge fan of AI, huge fan of automation. I find if we come into the project as a team of 5, we can actually act as a team of almost 8 to 10 if we're bringing in AI and automation. We have a lot of our processes documented, and we have sort of internal operating systems here at RevUp Advisory. And so I've done over 100 of these at the end of the day. So like my superpower is I can see the gaps really clearly, even if the stakeholders can't see the gaps, because I've worked across so many companies and industries. And so I say I'm giving you the cliff notes. You could maybe get there in 12 months or 18 months, but within 6 months, I can accelerate that growth so much faster at the end of the day. And I get it. Some people want to try themselves and falter or try, and it gets really hard. And that's okay too. But I think there's often a better way to do it. And I find a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. So they do these repeatable tasks, or they're like, oh my God, there has to be a better way, but they don't actually have the answer to what the better way is. And so that's where I think we use sort of AI and automation to say, there is repeatable steps within your organization at the end of the day. And if we brought in some automation or flows or integrations with other tech tools, we can make you more efficient. And it just giving you time back in your day to do actually your job at the end of the day. There's a lot of, sellers want to go out and sell, but there's a lot of manual or tasks. They have to record all the calls, they have to take notes, they have to put it in the CRM, they have to follow up via email, they have to get someone, or they create the proposal, they need to do research on the company. Those are a lot of steps you're asking one sales director to do at the end of the day. And so if we can enable them with technology and AI to help get them and surface that information faster, imagine how many more calls or proposals they can do in a week, in a month, in a quarter.
For sure, for sure. So that's kind of like speaking to the productivity side of AI and stuff. Are you noticing, or are you looking into, the kind of intelligence benefits, new, strategic applications with AI and stuff? Has that come up yet, or is it something you're waiting to see more of?
Yeah, we use AI all the time within the work that we do. I think something that can take us, 3 business days can now take us like half of a business day at the end of the day. So definitely from the productivity standpoint, but you can ask. So, just an example, like you can upload like big data sets. And again, there's privacy concerns there. So it depends on what you're uploading. But if you're doing persona mapping at the end of the day and we're uploading big data sets, ChatGPT or Bard or any of them, Claude, can give you sort of patterns as to what those data sets look like. So, hey, we're trying to do persona mapping. Tell me how many people in this, 20,000 data set has these titles. What industries are they in? So you can kind of do your strategic piece, but you can break it down a lot quicker using AI. So it's like, oh, great, we're going to do persona mapping. We have a list of our top 10 personas. Now let's gut check that with the client, because they're closer to the business than we are, to make sure, are these actually your top 10 personas, or did we get it wrong based on the data? And sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong. So I always feel like there's a human element to it, but it really helps sort of streamline and facilitate those conversations we're going to have anyway. And I love tech, so I like super nerdy into all the technologies, which is how I found you guys, because I was like, oh, there has to be a better way to do sort of outbound cadences. And then
I have one more question, a fun one for you.
Sure.
How would you describe RevOps to a 5-year-old?
I would say at the end of the day, you have a business and you're looking to make more money in your business, but you don't know how to make more money in your business. So you have people in your business, which are employees. You have systems in your business, which are technology that you use kind of a computer to do. And these people need to do a series of actions in order to make more money. And that's what RevOps is.
Nice, lovely. Thank you so much.